Hello, it's Esther. I am a music composer and producer from London, and I talk about my experiences with mental health. I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube that are discussing the topic of BPD and NPD, borderline personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder. And often in a lot of these videos, I'm seeing the two diagnoses used almost as if they're the same thing. I myself have BPD, and it's already a very stigmatized disorder to have. And I just want to share a bit of clarification because it can be very confusing, and I totally understand. I think it's really important that we just define what are the similarities, but also what the difference is, so that we're not using diagnoses interchangeably, as this just spreads misinformation and it just increases the stigmatization of these disorders. Now, I just want to put a quick disclaimer as well that this video is not in any way, shape or form trying to say that people with BPD cannot be emotionally abusive or inflict pain on their partners. There are a lot of difficulties surrounding all mental health conditions, and they can all become very complicated and difficult. So, yes, to start off, some of you may or may not know the characteristics of both of these disorders. So let's just get a basic overview of what these disorders are. So what is borderline personality disorder? Borderline personality disorder, aka BPD, is a cluster B personality disorder. It's characterized by consistent changes in behavior, mood, and self-image. Episodes of anger, depression, and anxiety lasting up to a few days are common for people with BPD. People with BPD frequently change their opinion of themselves, others, and their interests. Drastic changes in opinion often lead to tumultuous or unstable relationships with others. Other symptoms of BPD include extreme fear of abandonment, impulsive behaviors such as unsafe sex or substance use, self-harm, thoughts of suicide. During times of stress, people with BPD can experience dissociation. Someone experiencing dissociation can feel like they don't have a sense of self or identity. They can feel detached from their emotions, memories, and thoughts. What is narcissistic personality disorder? Narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, is also a cluster B or dramatic/erratic personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder is characterized by the presence of 5 or more of the following symptoms: a sense of entitlement, an inflated sense of self-importance, arrogant, egotistical, or haughty behavior, envious of others or believes others are envious of them, lack of empathy, preoccupation with fantasies of success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love, requiring excessive admiration, taking advantage of others, believing that they are special and can only be understood by other special or high-status people. In short, people with NPD might be described as self-absorbed or egotistical. This self-absorption rises to the level of a clinical disorder when it significantly interferes with a person's relationships, job, or other important domains in life. So, why are these two disorders so intertwined, and where does this confusion come from? Well, I guess it's helpful for us to look at where the two maybe have similarities, and these characteristics may outwardly appear to be similar or stemming from the same disorder. However, there are some really key differences, but let's look at what those similarities are to begin with. Both BPD and NPD involves a heightened intensity in emotions, though they manifest differently. Individuals with BPD experience intense emotional shifts, while those with NPD may display intense reactions to perceived challenges to their self-worth. Fear of abandonment. Individuals with BPD fear abandonment due to their unstable self-image and emotions, while those with NPD may fear abandonment because it threatens their grandiose self-concept. Impulsivity. Impulsivity is yet another common thread. While the reasons may differ, individuals with both disorders may struggle with impulsive actions, albeit for distinct motivations. So we can see certain features overlap, but Actually understanding what is the motivation and what drives these behaviors is really essential to understanding how the two disorders differ. So let's look a little bit deeper into how they actually differ. Lack of empathy is a hallmark of NPD. Individuals with this disorder have difficulty understanding or caring about others' feelings and needs. Individuals with BPD are often observed to have high levels of empathy, and at times can feel their emotions much more intensely than others. This high amount of empathy can often cause overstimulation and can cause experiences such as splitting to occur. This can lead to an absence of empathy in the moment. However, empathy is still strongly felt by the individual most of the time. Motivation for behavior. Behaviors in NPD are often driven by a need for validation, admiration, or self-enhancement. Manipulation and exploiting others to meet personal needs are common. Behaviors in BPD are frequently rooted in a fear of abandonment and emotional dysregulation. Self-harm or impulsive actions might stem from a need to cope with these overwhelming emotions. Self-identity. People with NPD have a consistent and grandiose self-identity, often portraying themselves as special or superior. Self-identity in BPD is unstable, leading to feelings of emptiness and a struggle to establish a coherent sense of self. So although we may see similar types of behavior such as emotional reactivity and sensitivity, the motivation behind these stem from very different places, such as in NPD, a person may become very reactive or angry because they feel like they're not being treated or valued from their self-grandiose point of thinking. Whereas in BPD, a person may become emotionally reactive or upset, and this can stem from a place of low self-esteem and fear of abandonment or rejection. Now, it's also important to note that these two disorders can exist together. There may be a comorbid diagnosis of BPD and NPD, and this is where perhaps a lot of the confusion is coming, where they're being lumped in together. However, they are very separate disorders, and it's important to know that, as one does not necessarily mean it comes hand in hand with the other. This is where getting expert advice is really essential, going to a doctor or a health professional who can diagnose both of the disorders or separate the two from each other to avoid confusion and any difficulties that can come from a result of misdiagnosis. So in conclusion, I hope that this has been able to clarify some of the differences and some of the similarities that people observe in BPD and NPD. Now, both of these disorders require, in my opinion, a great deal of empathy to try to understand why these behaviours happen. However, I categorically do not believe that any mental illness or disorder is an excuse for abuse of any kind. Now, I really also strongly advocate that anybody struggling with this, whether it be you think your partner may have one or both of these disorders, can get your own support, as it can be a big weight to bear as a partner, friend, or loved one. Overall, being able to talk about this is really important, and to be honest, I was worrying about even making this video because it's so stigmatized, and there's a lot of difficulty that comes around having either a BPD or an NPD diagnosis. It's also important to note these disorders exist on a spectrum, and that anybody with a diagnosis is still an individual person with the capacity to do good or harm. A mental health diagnosis does not automatically label somebody as abusive, as manipulative, as everybody is different. But as I mentioned before, it's never an excuse to treat people badly or to abuse in any way another person or living thing. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate whether you yourself have BPD or NPD, or you know someone that does. It's really great that you're either educating yourself or trying to understand more. And to anybody that has been affected by this, it's so important to reach out, to talk. You are not alone. And I really hope that conversations like this can help reduce the stigma involved around talking about mental health. So I wish you all the best, and thank you for being here. Esther.